In 2021, we saw the release of the newest Battlefield game, Battlefield 2042. But how does it stack up against the newest Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, when it comes to attention to detail? So guys, welcome to this direct comparison of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 versus Battlefield 2042, and I hope you guys enjoy this direct comparison as much as I've enjoyed making it for you guys. And if you do find yourself enjoying the video, be sure to drop a like on it, because it helps the video reach new fans, and as I always say, that's always a good thing. I also make new videos like the one you're watching right now every single week, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. And guys, let's dive into the video. So diving right in with a comparison of the AK model between each game, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, the model of the AK-74M is absolutely impeccable. There's tons of detail on this weapon model, and firing the weapon, it looks great and it sounds great with really realistic looking gun smoke and muzzle flash. While in Battlefield 2042, the AK-24 model is nothing to laugh at, as it has plenty of detail itself, though I did notice while firing the weapon that the muzzle flash is coming from the end of the barrel, though the gun smoke is actually coming out from where the casings are ejecting from the rifle. Now, I'm no weapons expert, but this is something I did find interesting, so if you are a weapons expert, let me know down in the comments if this is something that actually happens. Now moving on to a comparison of advanced movement between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, obviously this game has Omni movement, which allows the player to not only sprint in any direction, but dive and slide in any direction as well. While in Battlefield 2042, the player can't dive in this game, you just quickly go down into the prone position, though whenever you're sprinting you can slide forward and not in any direction like you can in Black Ops 6. And though Omni movement is pretty cool in Black Ops 6, I don't think it's a necessity for Battlefield to have it as well, though I do hope in future Battlefield games they allow you to have the ability to both slide and dive. Moving on now to a comparison of the blood decals between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I shoot an enemy, it does leave behind a pretty detailed looking blood decal, and blood decals actually spray into the surrounding environment. But one thing that's pretty cool is that every time I shoot the enemy, you can actually see the enemy's body actually reacts to the gunshot and moves, which is pretty cool. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, whenever you shoot an enemy, it does show a quick flash of a blood effect, though the blood decal does not stay on the player model when you shoot them. You'll also notice that the bullet passes through the player model and triggers the dirt to have an impact effect. And the player model doesn't move and react to the bullets like we saw in Black Ops 6. And now we're moving on to a comparison of the explosion effects between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I throw this grenade, the explosion itself does look great, though the blast mark left behind on the ground is just simply a black mark left on top of the environment. While in Battlefield 2042, when I tried this, the grenade causes a lot more environmental detail, kicking up all kinds of grass and leaves into the air, and leaving an actual crater in the ground itself that looks much more realistic. And moving on now to another explosion comparison, and in both games you can actually use C4 to blow open doors, though you'll notice here in Black Ops 6, whenever I use the C4 on this door, it actually just causes the door to go from the closed position to the open position. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, it does a little bit more than just open the door. And you guys know we gotta shoot some cars in these videos, so as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I shoot a tire of a vehicle, you can actually see the air leave the tire as it goes flat and actually changes the suspension of the vehicle, which is pretty cool. Whereas in 2042, whenever you try this, the tire doesn't go flat, but if you keep shooting it enough, the tire will just fly off the car entirely. And when you compare shooting the windows of the car, I will say that Black Ops 6 has a bit more detail of the glass being damaged on the vehicle before it shatters, though I do think the actual shatter effect of the glass breaking in 2042 looks a bit more impressive. And I also wanted to do a comparison to see if you could actually survive a car explosion between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, you can't. Whenever the car explodes, you're gone. While in 2042, I realized that the fire from the vehicle is far more dangerous than the explosion itself.
More sectors than they do. Make sure you defend our positions.
Now, we all know that Battlefield has really impressive looking destruction, but I wanted to do a comparison of an RPG shooting a wall that can't be destroyed to compare the blast marks left behind, and as you can see here in Battlefield 2042, the blast mark left behind isn't all that impressive, and the game kind of relies on its destruction to sell these explosions. While in Black Ops 6, and if you count out the fact that the game has no destruction whatsoever, the blast mark left behind on the wall is actually a bit more detailed and impressive looking than what we saw in Battlefield 2042. And moving on now to a comparison of the tree physics between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I lay the C4 on this tree and detonate it, the tree itself does not react to the explosion at all. While in Battlefield 2042, the C4 can't actually stick to the tree, but that doesn't really matter for this comparison. But whenever the C4 actually does explode, it sends a shockwave through the tree, moving the branches and causing debris and leaves to fall from the tree. It's pretty cool. And in some cases, even causing the tree to fall down, but always having more environmental detail than what we saw in Black Ops 6. Which leads us to a comparison of the glass physics, which is something that Black Ops 6 has really improved upon, as every time you shoot the glass, you actually knock a realistic looking chunk of glass out wherever the bullet impacts, eventually leading to the glass to shatter entirely. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, whenever you shoot the glass, it takes next to no damage at all. That is until the glass shatters completely, and then it does look pretty impressive, but still not as impressive as what we saw in Black Ops 6. And now we're moving on to a comparison of the water effects between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I shoot the surface of the water, there's a pretty realistic looking ripple effect. Whereas in 2042, whenever you try this, for the most part, it looks pretty different with no ripple effects showing up at all, though on some multiplayer levels, they do have ripple effects that do show up, and they're much larger, and they don't look quite as detailed as what we saw in Black Ops 6. Next, we're going to test the water effects using explosives, and in Black Ops 6, whenever you throw a grenade into the water, the explosion itself looks fine, though the actual water effects from the explosion aren't as impressive looking as I'd hoped after testing how the water looked when you just simply shot the surface of it. And now whenever I test this in Battlefield 2042, the first thing you'll notice is that the explosion causes much more water to be thrown up into the air, and in my opinion, looks more impressive than what we saw in Black Ops 6. And speaking of water effects, I wanted to compare how the weapon models would react to being submerged in water between the two games, and as you can see here in Black Ops 6, whenever I dive into the water and climb out, the weapon has a slight sheen to it, implying that the weapon is indeed wet. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, it's much more obvious that your weapon has been submerged in water, as the water accumulates in different parts of the weapon model and looks really impressive, and this also happens whenever you're just simply standing in the rain too, which is pretty cool. And with this next comparison, I wanted to compare how a flashbang would react in the water between the two games, and in Black Ops 6, whenever you throw a flashbang in the water, it can still blind you if it goes off close enough to the player, but one thing I thought was really cool is that if you throw a flashbang in the water and it goes off beneath the surface, you can actually jump in the water and find the remains of the destroyed flashbang as it slowly drifts down to the bottom. So naturally, I tried to see if this would happen in 2042, and though the concussion grenade can still blind and stun you in this game in the water, I'd never actually found the destroyed remains of the concussion grenade after it exploded. And now moving on to a comparison of how melee works between the two games, and in Black Ops 6, whenever you go to melee an enemy, you actually just use whatever weapon you're holding as a melee weapon. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, every time you go to melee, you actually put your weapon that you have equipped away and switch to your knife. And I also noticed that your knife can actually cut and do damage to the environment around you, which is a pretty neat detail. Which leads us to a comparison of the smoke effects between the two games, and in Black Ops 6, whenever you throw a smoke grenade, whenever it detonates, the smoke itself does look very impressive. It's very detailed looking as it spins and swirls and fills up the environment, whereas in Battlefield 2042, the smoke itself doesn't look as impressive as the smoke in Black Ops 6, though one thing I did notice is that the smoke is actually casting a shadow onto the environment, which makes the smoke in Battlefield 2042 look impressive in its own way. And finally, with the new winter update in Black Ops 6, I wanted to see if the snowman in Nuketown could actually withstand a Molotov cocktail, and as you can see, it did just fine. Stupid snowman. Well guys, you made it to the end. Thank you for watching this direct comparison of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 versus Battlefield 2042, and I hope you guys enjoyed this direct comparison as much as I enjoyed making it for you guys. And with this video, it'll be my final feature video of the year, so I just wanted to take a second to thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown live for my basement this year, as it's been the best year on the YouTube platform that I've had since I've started. From the beginning of this year to right now, I've over doubled my subscriber count, and that's all thanks to you guys for showing up to the videos, you know, liking, commenting, all that stuff. It means a lot, guys. So I just hope that I continue to earn your subscription and that you guys continue to enjoy my content as much as I enjoy making it for you guys. But guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next year. And until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.